Ahoy, friends. It's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
That's right, everybody. Back us on Indiegogo. Hello. Welcome to the Dennis and Andy Show. It is Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It is raining like a son of a bitch out. It is almost pitch black outside.
I know. You would think it's like 8 o'clock at night.
I know. I never quite understood the term raining like a son of a bitch. How does the son of a bitch rain?
Just like that.
Just like
you
that.
You can see it. Like
We're
cats
like
and dogs.
It's another one I don't quite get. Cats and dogs do not rain down from the sky.
Or do they?
I guess. How do we look? Look at that. I got a new camera. Thank you, Brian Blevins, for the recommendation. This camera is wonderful. I guess that's what happens when you spend over $100 on a camera instead of the $50 job I used to have. So, yeah, 50's still a lot, though.
No, not for the technology in these. Brian did a real solid this week, so hopefully he's going to make it on. And if not, you can see the thank you on the pre-recording. He recommended a brand new camera, so Andy and I picked it up. Full 4K camera with lots of cool options, much clearer than the other ones, with lots of great settings. Plus, he also did a great thing and sent me a really cool microphone with an entire setup and a gaming keyboard since mine took a crap. So, big shout out to Brian Blevins. I ordered a USB hub, so I'm going to be getting all the new goodies hooked up over the next week after my hub arrives. And when I go from my place, you guys will see the difference. But you can see us. I don't know if you want to see us this clearly, but you will now.
That's right. Randy Howell in the house. Hello. There's the Kor-Drath link. Guys, you saw the trailer. If you haven't backed it yet, go back it now. Of course, always want to talk Kor-Drath, barbarian goodness. We will bring our guest in soon to talk about the Masters. There's the link for that, so you guys can check that out. I think there's a couple days left. Val Schnitzel. What's up, Val? Back Kor-Drath and the Masters now. 2 classic CG titles that are bound to become classics in the indie scene. Prater. What is up, party people? How are you? Amish Ninja in the house. Hail, Dennis and Andy. Hail, Kor-Drath. And I, Amish Ninja, am like you in our fantasy football, watching the playoffs from the sidelines because this jabroni lied to me and told me the top 10 teams made the playoffs. So I was like, I'm number 9. I'll be in the playoffs. What's the top 8 teams? So like a stripper, getting me all excited, thinking I had a chance, and going home with blue balls. He did the exact same thing to me with our fantasy football.
And you know
you
what?
bastard.
I can't help but the fact that you don't read your own fantasy football rules. So whatever, Mr. Andy, I don't know nothing except you gave Mr. Amish Ninja crap about not making the playoffs for like the last month. Oh, and you two are in the same boat together.
Whatever. Courtney's going to kick your ass this week.
She
and
will,
then you'll
but
be on
all
the
my
sidelines
quarterbacks
too.
are injured, I'm now without quarterbacks.
Dennis doesn't have any quarterbacks.
I still made it in. I was still, what, third place?
Quarterbacks.
Oh, whatever, Mr. Sidelines. Wow.
Smokey Concat, what's up? Rob Hunter, hello. Rob says, look at Andy's beard growing in, so manly. You know it. I don't know why you're calling Dennis my beard, though. That's weird. Randy says, Andy's looking more like Graham these days. Well, I'll take that. The clarity's too much. Make it fuzzy again. No. And in fact, just because you said that, the one thing I like about this camera, I could do this.
Yeah, that's right. Now you got it. He's putting the best foot forward. Look at that zoom.
Look at that tight zoom.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see the gray in my beard. So, I guess I am getting older.
You have gay in your beard? I didn't know that.
Oh, Andy.
What? So anyhow, back to that. But yeah, I love this camera. I'm just playing with it and stuff. Anywho, before we bring the guests, a little housekeeping, of course. Let's share the screen. I'll have to do that anyhow. Kor-Drath, The Reckoning, $72,346, 1,151 backers. We're still climbing. I really appreciate you guys so much for backing the campaign, giving us your support. I've got another page I'm going to start inking tomorrow. Please share the campaign around. Got to get this baby to 6 figures, young lady.
And I've been working hard on the module. That's what I was doing right before we got over here. And in a mere week, I will be play testing the first round of it and see how it goes.
Oh, yeah. So there you go, guys. Check out the campaign. Link is in the description. Randy's been posting it. It's great barbarian action, sexy babes. If you like Conan, Dungeons and Dragons, Game of Thrones, you'll love this. And like Dennis said, you can read the book, and there's a game module, and play the game. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Marcus is in the house. Hello.
Marcus is out driving in the rain, I can tell.
That's right. Look at that nostril flare. That's right. You don't ever want that close up. Well read. What is up? Book is coming along great. Thank you. Well read. Gotta come on your channel, brother. Hit me up with a DM and let's figure out a time for you to host Dennis and Andy. All right, let's get to it. Our guest is the creator of the book, The Masters, and he is going to tell us all about it. I am going to share the page so you guys can see it as well. We're going to interview him some and do all that fun stuff. I always like to bring our guests in with something. We'll go with this one. Ladies and gentlemen, who am I kidding? No ladies watch this show. One does participate in the show, though.
Wow.
Certified badass.
There he is.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Doing good. Dennis originally wanted to call you Austin Hough. I said it is not like dough. It is Hough.
We forgive Dennis's trespasses.
You know, he likes to mess up people's names.
Yep,
Absolutely.
I do. But that's okay. I mean, I did find out Austin is a Chicago Bears fan, so nobody's perfect.
Yep. And I just want to say, with having me on your show, the amount of ladies who are viewing has probably gone up significantly.
That's what we say when Andy's on there, but we haven't seen those numbers come through yet.
Oh, they're there. They just don't comment to you. They message me privately.
Okay.
That's really why I got the new camera. They were like, God, you look so good, but it's like there's Vaseline on it, like from the 80s. Could you get something clearer? And I'm like, ladies,
it's like
I
the
will.
old Star Trek, from the Star Trek show when they would show the close-up of the lady, and then they would do the white blur so that they soften the picture and stuff.
Right.
That's what they do for Andy, so you don't actually see the features.
Well, I mean, it's weird that when my wife and I are having our special time, she likes to hold up a piece of glass in front of my face that's frosted. I don't understand it.
Painted and frosted,
Yeah.
opaque.
I know, it's weird that she does that. Where are the ladies at? I don't know, Randy, bring them in. Marks is like, the camera looks sharp. Thank you. Anyhow, let's get to it. Austin, we want to know a little bit about your background. Dennis always asks a new guest a specific question. Hopefully he keeps it PG-13 this time.
I always keep it PG or slightly worse.
Sure.
But we always want to know the origin because it's your first time on the show. Not everybody knows who you are. So
Right.
What's your origin story? How did you get involved with the comics?
Well, I am originally, my hobby for the last 25 years has been making custom Mego action figures. And I'm one of the most prolific Mego customizers in the world. I actually started a Facebook page called the Custom Mego Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And every year for the last 4 years or so, we have been inducting actual individual customs and customizers with a worthy body of work into the Hall of Fame, similar to the Baseball Hall of Fame or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I have made no fewer than 650 custom action figures in the last 25 years.
Wow.
And if you pick up issue number 1 of the Masters, there's a photo of me sitting in front of my collection. So, 650 characters, they're all focused on DC and Marvel superheroes and supervillains.
Yeah.
And one day I was like kind of running out of ideas. I mean, there's only so many variant Batmans and variant Spider-Mans you can make,
Oh, yeah.
So I remembered like way back when, 25, 30 years ago, I was watching an old Adam West Batman show. And I forget who the villain was at the time. It might have been Vincent Price as Egghead or Roddy McDowell as Bookworm. And I started thinking, I think that Salvador Dali would be a really cool character, like an inspiration for a character who walks around with a palette of paint and a big beret on his head and a smock. And he's got these magic paints and he can paint portals to other dimensions. And then he jumps in to get away from the cops or Batman and Robin. And then I forgot about it, But when I was looking for new characters to customize in the Mego format, all of a sudden he popped into my head. So next thing I knew, I was making this character who I named Sir Real or Deal. And I liked the custom action figure so much and the character so much, I started thinking, man, you know what? There's nothing better than a team of villains, right? The Legion of Doom, right? The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the Wrecking Crew, my all-time favorite group of bad guys. So I made a list of all of my favorite artists of the 20th century. And I had everybody on there from Pollock to, of course, Dali, to Keith Haring, to Andy Warhol. And I wanted to come up with ones that I thought, that would be as visually stimulating as the Dali-inspired character. So I ended up just crossing off, and I came up with 4 more. And those were based on or inspired by Rene Magritte, Toulouse-Lautrec, Keith Haring, and the photographer Ansel Adams. And I made the custom action figures. I'm like, wow, these guys are great. I can't wait to show them off in public. But who the hell's going to know who they are? I'm the only guy in the world who knows who they are.
Right.
So all of my followers on the custom Mego forums and everything are going to look at these and say, hey, those are great, Austin, but who are they? So I decided to write backstories on these guys. Oh, I'm going to name the Ansel Adams inspired character Panorama. He's got a magic camera that when he takes a picture of you, it sucks you into his camera and you're stuck in this black and white, all natural world, similar to his photographs. And so on and so forth. So I wrote origin stories for all 5 of them. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. And I'm like, you know what they need? They need a leader. Well, the leader of the group is the big reveal, which is coming up in issue 5. I'm not going to disclose it. But suffice it to say, when you find out who the big reveal is, it is going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, holy cow, that is so cool. who better to lead the masters than this dude? So as I'm doing this, all of a sudden I have this idea for a comic book, a story. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if I put all these guys together for like the art heist of the century? And I'm like, who better to go against these guys than Batman, my all-time favorite hero? He and Spider-Man, I think, are 1A and 1B. They're probably
Sure.
Followed by like Daredevil, maybe Green Arrow is up there as well as Green Lantern. But I came up with this idea of like the old, like Jim Aparo Brave and the Bold book, where you had Batman, guest superhero, fighting a bad guy, initially losing, but coming back at the end and winning. They figure out how to beat this guy. Doesn't matter if it's the Joker, Two-Face, it doesn't matter, who it is. So I put this story together and I really like it. I think, wow, this is pretty good. But, of course, it's like if you ask somebody do you think you're funny? Everybody's going to think they're funny. Everybody thinks, oh, I wrote a great story here. So and Andy, I've got friends in the business.
Sure.
So
yeah.
One of my best friends in the world is Art Baltazar. I know you're familiar with Art.
Yeah.
And he lives, I could throw a rock from my house and hit his house. And we get together about, maybe every 2 or 3 months we go out and we grab lunch. We go to the same restaurant every time and we just sit there and talk for like 4 or 5 hours. Hopefully there's a baseball game on or a football game or something. And I pitched him the story. I brought the plot summary. I showed him pictures of all of my characters and he absolutely fell in love with it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And he's like, Austin, I'm not going to go to anybody at DC Comics and pitch this for you, but I can introduce you to somebody and you can take it from there. I'm not going to tell them it's good. I'm not going to tell them it's bad. I'm just going to introduce you. Well, this was in the middle of February of 2020. And 2 weeks later, that individual no longer worked at DC Comics.
Oh, no way. No.
I don't think we have to name his name, Dan DiDio, but
Got it.
But that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say.
Right.
So, and then of course, right after that, again, he was let go right before C2E2.
Right.
And when C2E2 was done, the whole lockdown started.
Yep.
So I'm sitting at home with these cool action figures, this awesome story that a professional cartoonist and story writer thinks is pretty darn good. What am I going to do with it? Well, I could have just thrown it in a drawer and went about my business and kept selling insurance all day, which is what my main job is. I own an insurance agency.
Sure.
Or I could have, pulled myself up by the bootstraps and dried my eyes, incorporated a company called Power Comics Inc. and self-published it. And I contacted everybody I knew in the business and got referrals from everybody who I knew and they knew. And I said, how do I do this? What do I do? How do I get guys like Joe Rubenstein to work for me? And how do I get guys like Alan Weiss and Ron Wilson and Kerry Gamble? What do I have to do? Where do I find Jim Steranko's phone number?
Sure.
And I compiled as much information as I could. And I put an email out to Joe Rubenstein, who I had become friendly with, kind of like the same way you and I became friends, Andy. We met at a show, we clicked, right? And same thing happened with Joe and I. I first met Joe up in Milwaukee, probably 2018 or 2019, kept in touch with him, saw him at a bunch of shows. And I sent him an email one morning that said, hey, Joe, I've got this idea for a comic book. I'm looking for Alan Weiss, Ron Wilson, and Kerry Gamble to do covers for me. I know you're friends with them. I'd love, you to put me in touch with them if you could. And I'd love to have you ink their work because I know you're familiar with all three of them. He responded to me within 15 seconds. I mean, it was instantaneous. He's like, this sounds like a really neat idea. Forward me what you want me to send them and I'll put you in touch with them.
Sure.
Next thing I knew, the following day, I was getting an email from Alan Weiss.
Oh, nice.
Now, for my money, man, it is hard to top Alan Weiss.
Oh, he's great, man. I've loved his stuff since I was a kid. He's just so good.
Unbelievable stuff. And he is so precise,
Mhm.
and he's just fantastic. So he sends me an email saying, hey, man, I really like this idea. Toulouse-Lautrec is my favorite artist, and Salvador Dali is my second favorite. This sounds great. Here's my phone number. Call me tomorrow at 6:30. And I'm like, okay, that sounds cool, right? Alan Weiss has given me his phone number, and he lives in Chicago, which he's not very far from me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
So I call Alan Sunday night at 6:30, 3.5 hours later, okay? And all I wanted to pitch him was, hey, will you do a cover for me? I just want a cover. Because the whole thought was, if I could get like Alan Weiss and Ron Wilson and Al Saviuk and Kerry Gamble and Bob Hall, you know, guys of that ilk from that era to do covers for me and pay their prices, I can go and do the interior pages with, you know, as, you know, skillful guys who maybe are newer in the business that are just as talented, but I can get them at a lower rate. You know,
Mhm.
at that point, I'm looking at the whole economics of the thing.
Sure.
Well, Alan, at the end of the conversation, he says, Austin, I'm all in for a cover. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Alan Weiss, I got him. And then he throws a wrinkle into it.
Uh-oh.
He says, Austin, would you do me a favor? And I'm like, Alan Weiss is asking me for a favor? Seriously? And he said, I'll do the cover, but I want to do an interior chapter. And I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of like, you know, Jackie Gleason in The Honeymooners, humming. You know,
Yeah.
what do you say to that? It's like, who's going to say no to Alan Weiss? Not me.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you have everything broken down by chapter for the villains. And he's like, I really want to do the interior pages for the chapter on your Toulouse-Lautrec inspired villain. He's like, you've got them broken down that way because you told me it's a Brave and the Bold type story. So it's almost like you've got 5 Brave and the Bold stories all, you know, consecutively.
Right.
And I said, yeah, you know what, Alan, that sounds awesome. That's great. And I sent him reference images of the action figure that I made. I call the Toulouse-Lautrec inspired figure or character Monsieur Petit Renard, which means Mr. Little Fox. And he's the only character in the Masters who does not have a superpower based in his art. He's actually, if you read the origin story, he's actually a failed artist who is drowning his sorrows at the Moulin Rouge and is taken in. Now, if you know anything about Toulouse-Lautrec, all of the Moulin Rouge posters. So he's drowning his sorrows at the Moulin Rouge, and a dancing girl reveals herself to him as really being a paid assassin.
Oh.
And she takes him under his wing, and he becomes this master assassin. And which is, you know, the juxtaposition is the fact that he's only 4'8", and he could kick anybody's ass.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about the character. So Alan loved that whole persona. And the next morning, I wake up, and in my inbox are these, we'll call them sketches. Alan Weiss doesn't sketch anything, Andy. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his sketches were like, I didn't even think they needed to be inked. They were so dynamic.
Yeah, man. His stuff is tight.
This image, this sketch of Monsieur Petit Renard, which we call him MPR now. It's easier. He sends me the sketch of MPR, you know, with his hat, with his glasses, with holding his cane with this fox head on it. And I nearly fell out of my seat. And I read his email, and he's like, I hope you like this. I think it looks pretty good. And I was wondering if you could do me one more favor. And I'm like, God, what does he want now? And he keeps going. He's like, you know, you've got the Black Owl is the main protagonist in our story. He replaced the Batman, right?
Yeah.
We need to get a replacement for the Batman and all the ancillary characters that I originally put in the story.
Sure.
So I had originally Red Tornado as one of his team-ups. So I found in the Golden Age public domain, you know, world, a character called Twister. He wasn't a robot like Red Tornado, but he had cyclone powers. So I told Alan, Black Owl and Twister are going to be fighting MPR. And in his email, he said, hey, can you do me another favor? Can you let me reimagine, reinvent, recreate Twister and modernize him? I don't want to use the 1942 version.
Sure.
I want to change him.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me? I'm going to get Alan Weiss to create a character for this book? You got to be nuts. Next thing I knew, the next day, there was the Twister. And all of a sudden, dude, Alan Weiss flipped the script on me. I wasn't going to go out and get lesser known, equally talented artists to do the interior pages. I was going to go to my favorite artists and offer them a cover, their choice of villain, the interior pages for that villain's chapter, and whatever guest hero was appearing in that chapter, they get to reimagine, recreate.
Oh, that's cool.
Man, the next thing I knew, I had Val Merrick, co-creator of Howard the Duck.
Yep.
I had Ron Wilson, who I always call him the king of covers because every cover in the 70s, I think, was pretty much Ron Wilson.
Sure.
I was able to get Arvell Jones to do a chapter and a bad guy. And Alex Saviuk, who I had become personal friends with as well, just like you, Andy. I met him at a con in Cincinnati a few years ago, and then saw him again in Milwaukee with Joe Rubenstein. And you know what? If you look up the term salt of the earth, there's a picture of Al Saviuk in the dictionary right there.
Oh, man, he's such a nice guy.
Oh, my God. It's unbelievable. He is just an amazing human. I absolutely – I enjoy every moment I get to talk with him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Arvell Jones had to back out. Other things going on, which wasn't a problem. I was able to get Greg LaRocque to step in and do the chapter with Surreal Ordeal. And I'm going to tell you right now, Greg LaRocque and Tom Morgan, both of them, had to step in on issue 2. That's why it's taken us so long to get this out, because I had a couple of artists who had to bow out. And,
right.
We kept kicking that can down the road. It was like, you know what, you guys need more. One guy was in a car accident. Another guy had a couple of deaths in his family, and on and on and on. It just seemed like if they didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck at all.
Right.
So there's no ill will between us. I mean, I'm going to work with these guys again. I want to. But I had to replace them at some point. And
sure.
I pulled the trigger on bringing in Tom Morgan and Greg LaRocque. And I'm telling you, those two guys, they get MVP awards for what they've done. I mean, Morgan hasn't done interior work, comic book work, period, in over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. He's been working for Disney. I call him up. Originally, I had him doing a couple of pinups for the Kickstarters.
Yeah.
I asked him if he would take this old Fantastic Four Kirby blue light or black light poster and recreate it with my guys. And oh my, Andy, it's unbelievable. I'm going to unveil it on the next Kickstarter. And, I thought, you know what, I'm going to reach out to Tom because he's already done this. Maybe I can convince him. I know he hasn't done anything else in a long time. I told him, hey man, you know what? We're doing issue number 2. We've got the Black Owl. I've got this whole idea of him, like the first 8 pages, we're introducing him to the reader. We want him to like just beat the crap out of everybody. I wanted to take some old monster villains that he fought in the public domain in the 40s. Yeah. And let's recreate them like we recreated the heroes. Man, Tom jumped on that thing like a rabid Wolverine. He starts sending me model sheets. He's like, oh, no, I don't like this one. I am changing it. And man, it was just like fine tuning this and changing that. And the stuff that he came up with was amazing. We took a character from the 40s called the Laughing Head, who was simply just like a mob boss, like the Kingpin, somebody like that, right? And we reinvented him into a vampire and gave him a little bit of a backstory on how he became a vampire. And next thing you know, he's conjuring up Frankenstein's monster and the Green Mummy and the Wolfman, and they're all fighting the Black Owl in this bar. And it really sets the stage for what kind of a superhero the Black Owl really is. And he liked the idea so much, Andy and Dennis, that he actually said, let me write the script for these first 8 pages.
Oh,
So
damn.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, right? I gave him the plot summary, and he's like, I take it from here. And he did everything. And then Greg LaRocque, you want to talk about MVP. Greg LaRocque comes in, and he takes, not 8, not 12, 19 interior pages. And boom, gets them all done faster than he promised. We split up the inking duties between Joe Rubenstein and Al Milgram. We split up the coloring duties between Dave Ocampo and Rob Epps, and boom, 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 it was done. And, I owe a lot to Tom and Greg. Those guys are heroes of mine right now.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think I've met Greg once. Tom, we're friends on Facebook, and the drawings he posts and stuff, I just love because they have such a classic feel, a John Romita feel to them.
Absolutely.
They're just great.
Yeah, it's like John Buscema and Jack Kirby had a love child.
Yeah. That's funny because I often tell Dennis it's like Sasquatch and
The Abominable Snowman.
Yeah, because Dennis is pretty pasty. Had a love child, and then there's Dennis.
Pasty.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing you say is ever accurate.
What are you, dark tan?
In the summer? God, you were.
I've got to put a qualifier on it?
You do.
I'm tan
because
in the
there's no
summer.
sun. You don't see it. You hide away. The sun comes out. And you're like. And then he says, precious.
God.
Well, I had a question for you, Austin.
Yes, sir.
Because I was kind of looking through, and it's I was going through your different tiers and stuff earlier, and it talks about digital copies. You got issues 2 and issues 3. Are you not having an issue 1 that's able to come on, or do you have to get that through the trades?
Issue 1 came out. We did a Kickstarter for it a year ago.
Yep.
And we finally got it printed and out. We had a lot, man. I tell you what, I never realized all of the, speed bumps along the way producing a comic book, right? Even though I picked everybody's brain, even yours, Andy.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It was like, whatever could go wrong did. And then you can either quit or you can learn from your mistakes.
Right.
So I think I learned from a lot of the mistakes we made. And, because we were so behind, we thought, we're going to release 2 comics with this Kickstarter. So people got number 1 over the summer. Yep. They're going to get issues 2 and 3 with this Kickstarter. And we should have these out because issue 2 is already done. Issue 3 is almost done. I'm thinking we can have both of these out probably no later than the beginning of February.
Oh, cool.
And we can start the next Kickstarter in February. And we're thinking about doing issues 4 and 5 together again, or maybe just issue 4. It really all depends. We're going to survey the group of people, our backers, and see what they'd like to do. We definitely made our goal on this one. We tripled our goal so far, and we still have about 30 hours left. But
Sure.
we still fell a little bit short of where I thought we should have been. And again, it's like you come up with your plan, you implement your plan, you measure how your plan worked out, and then you make changes. So we're going to do a lot of measuring after this one is done and see what changes we need to make. People might tell us, hey, you know what? I can't afford 2 comic books at once, or 4 comic books at once, really, because we offer 2 covers for each issue. So, we have a lot of data to mine, and that's going to be the next step. And that starts on Friday when everything's done.
No, that's cool. Why don't you hold on? Let me get to a couple.
So the only way to get issue number 1, that's what my question was, is to get wait for the trade then?
No, I apologize. On this, everything that we offered in the first Kickstarter is available on this one as add-ons. If you get the level with the 2 issues, add on issue number 1 if you missed it, or
Right,
any of the
checkout.
posters from issue number 1, or whatever it might be.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Val Schnitzel says, will there be an Andy Smith cover? Well, you can never say never. So
Well,
you never know, Val.
Andy Smith is priced out of my range.
Andy Smith is Andy Smith
He's priced out of my range, too.
Andy Smith is really working on Kor-Drath. I've actually turned down a couple things that people have asked me about just because I'm in a groove right now on Kor-Drath, and I just really want to just focus on that.
You know, just so the public knows, I asked Andy if he, would want to do something, and the timing was just bad. You had your first man going on at that time, and by the time that was done, and you might have had a little breathing room, I had already put together the team.
Sure.
And when, somebody drops out, it's much easier for me to call up somebody that I've already worked with.
Of course.
Calling you up to see if you have time. And by the way, if you haven't backed Kor-Drath, back it now. It's an awesome campaign.
Well, thank you. Marcus says, how are these 32-page books?
They're
curious
actually
if you typed that
44-page
right.
books.
Huh?
44 pages.
They're 44. Okay.
You've got 28 pages of story. Then we add 4 pages of Who's Who pages.
Oh.
Then we add the extra pages we have like some parody ads for like the old Hostess cupcake and Twinkie ads of the 70s. We have a good friend of mine, Joe Woes. He has the Maze Tunes stuff going on. You ask him, Joe Woes is unbelievable. He's won 2 Emmys. You tell him, hey man, I want you to draw a maze with Superman. Boom, he'll draw you Superman and it'll be a maze. It'll be done in 5 minutes. He's amazing. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see a couple of his mazes. We've got a stretchy guy named Plymo right there. Tom Morgan did that one. But Joe did a maze of him stretching all over the page. It's absolutely fantastic. So,
by the way, that Tom Morgan one is just great. I love it.
Isn't it unbelievable?
Yeah.
I mean, there's Mike Vosberg. There's Joe Staten.
Oh, no, that's
I was able to get Ramona Fraden to pay tribute to her own Plastic Man cover.
That's cool. Let's see.
And Andy, I know you're friends with Bart Sears. He did an homage to his Justice League Europe cover for me.
I know. That's a great one. That's the one that I got.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just got here, so forgive me if this was asked. Is there or will there be an Indiegogo? I already have an account there. So there's a question for you.
There are no plans for that, but again, we're going into the look at the data situation, and we may decide to go with Indiegogo instead of Kickstarter next time. Can we do both? I don't know, Andy. Can you answer that question? Am I able to do that?
Yeah, you can do them both at the same time.
I might do them both at the same time. I know
there's literally nothing. There's nothing stopping you from doing that.
I've had guys from another one, and I haven't had a chance to ask you about this yet, Andy. Guys have approached me from another crowdfunder called Zoop.
Yep.
So I'm not sure, I've never been on there. I haven't spent a lot of time, even thinking about that, but maybe that's an option as well. I don't know.
Didn't Bart use Zoop?
Bart did. You could ask him about it. He knows more about it than I do.
Okay.
So, ask him about it. I know their cut is a little bit bigger because I think they take care of printing and all that stuff, fulfillment and stuff. But, check around. So I honestly don't know much about Zoop at all. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But
so tell everybody a little bit about the story in issue 2 and 3.
Yeah. So in issue 2 and 3, we really get going with all of the villain chapters. Issue 1 is an introduction of the leader of the Masters, who is always remaining in shadow, and him gathering up the 5 Masters as a villain team in order to, do his bidding. And the big crime they're doing is they're pulling off this art heist. They're trying to steal 5 individual paintings from 5 different places, almost, in sequence, almost at the same time. And in issue number 2, you have Surreal Ordeal, the introduction of him, and he gets to fight, or the Black Owl and our version of the Arrow, which was created back in 1940 and was the precursor to Green Arrow and Hawkeye. He was actually the first archer as a superhero ever, from my research.
Oh, cool.
Arvell Jones was with us long enough to recreate him. So he and the Black Owl, are go after into one of Surreal Ordeal's paintings to chase after him into his surreal world to get that painting back. And when they're in there, they encounter all kinds of things. If you scroll up a little bit, you'll see a couple of pages that were colored by David Ocampo. Yeah, these pages. Go to the that one. No, I'm sorry. The one that you had originally. I'm sorry.
Ah, that's okay.
Yeah, so this is them exiting the painting, and Surreal Ordeal has made a magical painted butterfly, and it's attacking Black Owl's fiancée, Terry Dane. So they have to put the kibosh on this guy, and they chop him up, paint scattered all over the place, and Surreal Ordeal, you could see him in the upper right running away. But inside this world, you are going to see all kinds of odes to, your favorite paintings. You're going to see the Mona Lisa. You're going to see the father and daughter from American Gothic are going to be in there.
Oh, that's cool.
You're going to see, and they're all going to have Surreal Ordeal's face on them. You'll see Marilyn Monroe with his face on it. And who is the other one Edvard Munch's The Scream. Remember the
Oh,
Scream?
yeah.
So he's going to be running around like that. So a lot of real cool Easter eggs and other things more things that I won't reveal. I'll leave them to the reader. But, again, this is my love letter to the Bronze Age of comics. And, all of the artists, the add-ons, everything is from my childhood. I was born in 1969. I graduated in 1986 from high school. 1969 to 1986 is essentially seen as the Bronze Age of comics.
Yeah.
And in issue number 3, we go from Greg LaRocque with inks by Rubenstein and Milgram to 2 chapters with Ron Wilson on one, inked by Mike Gustovich, and Alex Saviuk, inked by Al Milgram.
That's cool.
And man, oh man, that's a Ron Wilson and Joe Rubenstein cover right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's funny. You were born in 1969. I didn't know that. So were we. But it's weird because you said you graduated in 1986. I graduated in 1987. He graduated in 1988. But we were all born the same year. So
that's because I was smarter than both you guys.
Well, I
figured you were going to say that.
I knew you'd say that. And I know the reason I was average. I just took it 1 year at a time. You skipped a year. I get it. And Dennis was held back in kindergarten because Dummy kept putting a round block into a square hole. So they're like, kindergarten for you again, buddy.
It still works that way. Call him Blockhead. I try and put Andy through a square peg. It works, though. You just have to push harder.
Ew. Why are you so gross? Don't get sexual on the show.
Sexual?
So
How
disgusting.
do you get that out of it? My God,
Pushing
man.
harder? Your code words?
Oh, my God.
God darn it. Guys, check out the Masters. If you will, if you haven't yet, please go check it out. It is on Kickstarter. I know a lot of you guys are used to Indiegogo and stuff, but I've backed stuff. I found good stuff on Kickstarter, so go check it out there. Let's look at the pledge levels real quick. So we've got the $10 or more digital versions. It's hard for me to read that from back here. Let's see. Oh, $10. Buy your favorite artist a beverage. That's a good one. Something Dennis and I do on our campaign.
I stole that from Graham Nolan.
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
Right?
Yeah. Let's see. Val says, just wondering what's the cover art for the hardcover version. It's not showing up. You probably don't have it done yet, do you?
I don't, but I have a very, very, very special guest artist for that I have yet to reveal.
Okay.
And
hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, everybody's going to love this. I love him. I've been a big fan of his for, man, a couple of decades, and we haven't finalized everything yet. We're still in discussion of what do we want to do with the cover, how do we want to do it. We have all different ideas, and until we have it finalized, I won't announce anything.
No, that's cool.
But you're going to love it. I promise. It's freaking awesome.
So $20 or more, and you get the Masters 2 and 3. That's cool. $35, the Masters Trade digital version. Nice. $40, the Masters 2 and 3, all the covers. There you go. If you're a completist,
Yep.
do that. The heck is Joe Bernardo saying? I graduated in 88. Rock and roll is great. The year when you graduated in 88. I see what you did there. That sounds more like
88,
rap.
88, 88, 88. Yeah, baby.
Just saying, it sounds a little more like rap. Has Austin made custom Mego figures of his own characters?
Well, that's kind of what my question was going to be after we were done with the comic stuff. So, yep, we just jumped.
If you scroll all the way down in the body of the story, you will see my original Masters customs that I made a couple of years ago. And
wait, am I too far down?
No, keep going. We had those for sale with the first Kickstarter, and we have those for sale again. Now, these are just work in progress pictures of the heroes that are available with this Kickstarter. But if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the villains. And there they are.
Oh, wait, did I pass them?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, right there. There you go. There you go.
Now,
so, question.
If you Andy, you may be familiar with the background I use to take photographs of all my custom action figures. It is the original background from the Aurora model kit for Superman.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there was a guy laying on the ground named Neutron, I believe. And Superman was bursting through the wall. Do you remember that model?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I photoshopped out the bad guy laying on the floor, and I loved that so much. It was like, you know what? I use that as the background for all of my characters, so no matter where I see an image like that, I know that it was probably my custom that somebody ripped off the photograph.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's very cool. $75, the Monsters Trade hardcover.
Yeah.
So there you go. Let's keep going here. Now, the trade is going to collect what?
1 through 5, right?
1 through 5. Okay, he read it. I didn't. Never mind.
It's going to collect 1 through 5. We're going to have an issue 0, which is the prelude to the Masters.
Okay.
It's going to contain all of the Who's Who pages.
Oh, nice.
It's going to contain all of the extra covers that were done, by guys like Mike Grell and Bob Budiansky and Ramona Freighton and Joe Staten. It's just going to be everything all together. Whatever we can fit in it, we're going to stick in it.
So
very cool.
The trade hardcover, it shows estimated delivery February of 23. That doesn't sound right.
No, it's not. It's not. We're going to have to push that back. We've suffered a lot of delays. A lot of, what do they call those, Dennis? What's the phrase I'm looking for? Supply chain issues.
Oh, supply chain. Yeah, we all know about those.
You know all about that.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I'll check out the Masters with the trade paperback. It will have all the covers. Would that include any Indiegogo? Okay, so it's Kickstarter exclusive cover. Oh, if you chose to go Indiegogo and were to change things for Indiegogo, would it include that? I mean, that's a good question.
It would be all inclusive, absolutely.
That's awesome. Especially, I love the fact that there's an issue 0, the prelude story. I mean, I may have to get that one too when it comes out, just because you got to know the backstory.
Yeah. The
Val wants to know what the odds are of First Man making a guest appearance. I mean,
he does need a new villain for the next one, so First Man's
not a villain.
What? Well, he's taken after you, so I assumed he was a villain.
You son of a bitch. He's a ladies' man if he takes after me.
Well, then that's why we have no ladies on this channel. So once again,
Andy, if I can interject something real quick, I'd love to do a crossover with First Man. And we have a lot of stuff on the drawing board after the Masters. Again, the Masters is my big project. I mean, this is my love letter to the Bronze Age of comics. And once this is done, we've got all kinds of things on the drawing board. We have opportunities to do individual titles for all the superheroes. We're thinking of taking the Masters villain Graffiti and giving him his own title because he's more of an anti-hero. I've been in discussions with various artists in my team who have their own stories and their own heroes that they've created that they want published. We're looking at doing everything from monster comic book, like a series of monster comic books, almost like Tomb of Dracula or Werewolf by Night, with some of the characters that Tom Morgan recreated, to doing like an anthology series in the spirit of the Twilight Zone. I'm working on that with Mike Vosberg. I know you're familiar with Mike.
Yep.
What else? We're even looking into doing Bible comics. I've got an investor who wants us to do Bible story comics for kids and adults.
Oh, that's cool.
All kinds of stuff going on. Not to mention, we had so much fun with these Golden Age public domain heroes. I've had people on my team want to, let's go grab some more and do a team of anti-heroes, or let's do a team of female public domain heroes, and let's change their costumes and modernize them and whatever. So the possibilities are endless. Now, whether we get there to do it, that's another story, but they're on the drawing board. And I think that right now, that's the most important thing, that we're thinking about the future, not just the Masters and we're done. We're thinking about after the Masters. No,
that's really cool. That's really cool, especially the Bible stuff, because stuff like that I think would do really well.
Because I know Sergio with his action Bible and stuff, was really fantastic. So there's a market for that.
Oh yeah, that thing continues to sell.
Absolutely. You think about all of the Christian bookstores in this country.
Yep.
Just them. I mean, and I have artists who are like, I've contacted and I say, hey, I like your style. Would you be interested in doing something, like Bible stories for kids? Because my thought process was, you remember that big DC Collector's Edition, the Bible story? Yeah. I think Kubert did the cover.
Yep. Right? He did the layouts. He drew it, and then Nestor Redondo, I believe, did the finishes over his layouts.
Okay.
So Joe did the pencils and inks on the cover, and then laid out the whole book. I love that. I have the original one. That thing is fantastic.
Yeah, me too. I love it. And I was looking at it just for giggles and grins, because I collect all those Treasury editions, DC Collector's editions, and whatnot. And I got a new one a couple of months ago at a con. And as I'm going through them, that one kind of like fell out. And I was looking at it like, man, I haven't looked at this in forever. And I started flipping through the pages. And I was like, what would be really cool is if we could take the actual Bible stories as they were written.
Yep.
And recreate them, not necessarily like panel for panel, but the spirit of them. Let's recreate the actual story. And it doesn't matter. It could be the Good Samaritan. It could be, whatever. You just pick one. Let's go with the Good Samaritan. But we do something that looks like it came from the Bible. And then we immediately follow that with a similar story that shows how the Good Samaritan story from the Bible relates to modern day. So we're looking for real personal stories about the Good Samaritan. I've got a friend, and I know we're going off on a little bit of a tangent, but this is important to me. I've got a buddy of mine from college, my college roommate. I'm still friends with him to this day. And I bring up the Good Samaritan because one night he was in suburban Chicago, driving home in the dead of night, pitch black, and it's pouring rain, and he gets a flat tire. And it's a Saturday night. It's late. He gets out of his car. He doesn't know how to change, the oil, let alone a tire.
Right.
And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this guy pulls up behind him, gets out of his car, and changes his tire.
Oh, wow.
Won't take any money, doesn't give him his name, his phone. I mean, back then there were no cell phones, right? Guy goes about his way. My buddy goes back home. The next day he goes to church. And what is the homily about at church that day but the Good Samaritan?
Wow.
Andy, Dennis, there are no coincidences.
Correct.
So I'm thinking, why can't I take personal experiences of real people that reflect Bible stories and have one right after the other? Here's the Bible story, and here is a real life example of that Bible story to teach children that this stuff matters. It matters to learn.
Right. No, I hear you. Brian wants to know, just curious, how cool was it working with Al Milgram? Interviewing him is on his bucket list.
Well, you could tell Brian that I can contact Al for him and see if he's interested in speaking with him.
You just told him.
There you go. He's we're out. Have a good night. Tip your waitresses.
And Brian, what do you think of the camera? Brian was the one that recommended this new camera. Look how Brian's looking at it going, oh my God, you guys are so sharp and clear. Go back to the other camera.
It makes you guys look so slim and handsome.
Well, I mean,
most of them add 20 pounds. This one subtracts some.
At least 20 ounces.
Bray Wolf says a state trooper here helped me like that a year or so ago. I'm 63 and had trouble with the jack, and he took the jack out of his SUV and changed my. That's awesome.
Yeah. Going back to Al Milgram, Al Milgram is one of my favorite people to work with. He is so approachable. He is so kind. He gives it to you straight every time as well. He doesn't mince words. I remember when I finished the first issue, he's like, why are there no superheroes in issue number 1? Do you really think you should do that? And I said, Al, the title of the book is the name of the villains. Kind of like the old James Bond movies where Dr. No and Goldfinger, the man with the golden gun. You know, Spider-Man 2 should have been named Dr. Octopus.
Right.
You know, the Dark Knight Rises should have been named the Joker, or Dark Knight Returns, or whatever with the second one, right? It should have been named the Joker because it was the Joker's film. It wasn't Batman's film.
Right.
So this is all about the villains, and I had to introduce them. But getting back to Al, it's like he is such a pleasure to work with. He gives it to me straight, and I appreciate that. I don't like people who sugarcoat things to me because I don't sugarcoat things to people.
Sure.
You know, I'm a straight shooter. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Sure.
You want to be successful at whatever you're doing. If I know how to help you be a success, I'm going to tell you. And Milgram is great. He calls me on the phone just out of the blue. Doesn't text. I don't think he knows how to text. He and Bob Hall are like Siamese twins.
I believe that. How long ago was it? It was before COVID, so it's got to be 4 years ago now. Al was here at a show, and I met him and had a nice conversation with him and stuff. He's a really nice guy. So,
well, not everybody has smartphones. Some people still like the old dumb phones, and if they have to text, it's 111-333-62.
Yeah,
I mean, what is that jitterbug? How's that jitterbug work for you, old man?
Jitterbug, that's cricket. You're thinking cricket.
No,
I still have an insurance client that has a flip phone.
Oh my God!
Wow,
no lie.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank Austin for joining us. The link is in the description below for the Masters, so please go check it out. There's a couple days left on it.
I did have one quick question before you go, because you mentioned I'm a huge Star Trek Mego figure collector. Got the original Enterprise, everything. So I was looking it up. What is the website that you said you had the Custom Mego Hall of Fame? So when I Googled it, a whole bunch of them come up, and I don't see your name. Is it just the Facebook?
It's the Facebook page. Yes.
Okay.
Is it the Custom Mego Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you're at.
Custom Mego is one word, one M. Hall of Fame.
Does it have a black and white image for the title thing with the guy? Yep, that's it.
Okay.
It's looking at it now.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool, because there were a bunch of websites, and I was like, nope, and they all had that same title. So cool. I just wanted to let, because I know we've got Mego fans that are on this page. One of them is not here today, but they would love this, and I know they'll watch this show later on. So yeah, I think they'll get a kick out of stuff like this, because they do customize, Migos and Hot Toys and all that stuff.
Oh, let me add one more thing about Milgram, because I saw
Yeah, go ahead.
couple of questions come in on Al. Two things real quick. You need to see Al inking Alex Saviuk. It's absolutely some of the most beautiful work I've ever seen him do. I think all of these guys are at the top of their game. It's unbelievable. But you remember Milgram's cover, the Avengers cover with David Letterman with the Avengers?
Yes.
He recreated that for me with my guys, and he made David Letterman old with the beard.
Oh, that's cool.
That is awesome.
That's going to be available on the next Kickstarter. We've tried to pace everything out over the Kickstarters and spread things out. So the David Letterman cover is coming your way next Kickstarter.
Nice.
That's
very cool.
Thanks,
All right.
Thanks, Dennis.
We are going to, real quick, Kor-Drath, guys. Of course, we have to talk about Kor-Drath. Check it out. If you like barbarians, if you like babes, you will like Kor-Drath. It's 76 action-packed pages. Got some of the preview pages up right here if you haven't seen it yet, if you're new to the show. If you like Conan and Game of Thrones and Dungeons and Dragons, that's what this book is. 5 different covers to choose from. We've got a Get It All tier, so you can, like the tier says, get it all. There's an artist edition, which is an oversized 88-page hardcover where I'm scanning all my black and white original art, full color, so you can see the blue line, you can see pencil marks, white out, the gradations in the ink. It's just like one of those IDW hardcovers, except it's a little bit smaller. It's not the big 11x17, but it's bigger than a comic book. So that's a nice hardcover you can get. We've got a couple different T-shirt options you can choose from. Oh, look at that Bud Root cover. Lovely Bud Root cover. The homage cover I did from Conan #1. Always loved that cover. By the way, if you're wondering, yes, Kor-Drath could beat up Conan.
Of course.
I mean, come on.
Hey, Andy, before I forget,
Yep.
I wanted to personally thank you for that that coloring on the cover of the old Amazing World of DC Comics you did for me a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, the Dick Dillon thing, yeah.
The Dick Dillon cover. We haven't had a chance to meet face-to-face in like 2 or 3 years now.
I know.
And with
Well, who knows?
COVID
Maybe C2E2 next year. Who knows?
That would be great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But the work you did on that was spectacular, man.
Thank you. Yeah, that was fun. You should make a
Yeah.
poster out of it and hang it up.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Get the game module. Dennis is working on the Kor-Drath game. It's at 5th edition SRD compatible, so you can play other characters you've created in the Kor-Drath world or play our characters.
And I did have a couple of people ask. Now, it is 5th edition because that's the current edition, but it's all story. It's going to tie in directly with the comic book. All of you GMs and DMs out there, if you're still playing 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 4th, it doesn't matter, Pathfinder, you guys are good. You can take all the stats, just convert them very easily into whatever system you're running. But I'm putting them out as the 5th edition because that's what it's currently running out today.
There you go. And here's examples. These are character cards every backer gets because these are stretch goals that were unlocked. Cool character art on the front, stats on the back. Everybody's getting the map of the Shattered Reach where the story takes place. And our next stretch goal is the Lilith character card with her stats on the back. So she'll be a playable character. So if you haven't yet, please go check the campaign out. Back it now. The campaign, for some reason, along with a bunch of others, is shadow banned. So the only way you can find it is using the direct link in the description below, or Randy is posting it in the chat. If you try to search it, you will not find it, unfortunately. So use the link. That's for the masters.
Pass it to all your friends. Make sure
That's
if
for
they want it,
Kor-Drath.
give it to them and let them sign up.
That's right. We will be back next Wednesday, the Wednesday before Christmas. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a Christmas show. I don't know.
I've got an idea. I talked to somebody at the convention. We had our local comic convention this weekend. I talked to somebody about a cool collecting show idea. So if we can get it to work, that'll be next Wednesday. If not, it'll be a surprise.
That's right. So until then, everybody have a great week, a great weekend. We are going to go get dinner as we always do after the show.
And thank you, Austin. It was a wonderful interview. It was great to know, and we wish you all the success.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you both.
You got it. If you can make it to the pizza joint in the next half hour, Austin, you're more than welcome to join us.
All I heard was pizza. I'm there.
He's up by the good pizza. So since you're up in Chicago, my favorite pizza place is up there. What's your favorite pizza, Austin?
Well, I think, again, I'm a pizza connoisseur. I'm born and raised. I've been here all 53 years of my life. I could eat pizza 3 meals a day as long as it's 3 different kinds of pizza. I think I'm eating something different.
Yep. There you go.
You know, but of the famous Chicago like deep dish pizzas, I'd have to go with Lou Malnati's.
Yeah, baby. Absolutely agree. Lou Malnati's is still my favorite out of any of them. Giordano's is good. Uno's good. They're all got their things, but Lou Malnati's is the bomb. Nobody has been able to recreate anything quite like it.
There you go. And you picked up 3 backers.
3 backers. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you all.
It all helps, everybody. It really does. It's because of you guys supporting us that allow us to do what we do. So until next week, everybody, we'll leave you with this. Gang signs. Always gang signs. Bye, everybody.